We're gonna go live on Facebook. We're gonna go live on Facebook and start this. Welcome to this special Sabbath meditation with yours truly, Adrian Hanna Dragan. It is a special edition. We're gonna meditate, rant, philosophize a little bit, and of course, advocate and call for world peace and my brothers and sisters to channel the aggression. Do some push-ups, go for a march, go for a jog, do some more push-ups and do my general war integrated body training system, aka the Dragon Army workout, in order to channel the aggression and the violence into constructive and constructive activities. I'm here in my underground room office and temple in Hawk Island, Montreal, calling for world peace. Yours truly, independent artist, independent activist, independent athlete, universal spiritual teaching student, geopolitical analyst and theorist, philosopher, and of course the world's greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poet. There's going to be a special meditation for some milk, first and foremost, milk and some powder, Ayurvedic, which is natural care from Sri Lanka. Actually, as I'm calling for world peace, I have this special powder. They're not paying me, nobody's giving a commission or paying me to say this, and as a matter of fact, I will not name the company. I will just say that it's from Sri Lanka and it's 100% natural, and it's called Instant Ayurvedic Care. Instant Ayurvedic Care. And the contents of the bag are coriander, ginger, black pepper, venival, siriteku, which I have to see what it is. It's probably a spice that I've never purchased on the market here in Hawk Island, Montreal. Long pepper, Vishnu Kranti, cumin, vasaka, ajowan, galangal, katuelbo, patpagam, licorice, and cane sugar. So at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ingredients, which I'll have to do some education and learning, as we're learning every day. I don't know, I don't have all the answers. At some situations, circumstances, I am mediocre, so average, I admit it. A geopolitical analysis and theorizing and analyzing geopolitical events in depth with a profundity and exploring complex geopolitical trends and events which transpire due to cultural influences or economic, financial, social influences or external or internal dimensions of the analysis in terms of geopolitics, whether on the regions or on the civilizations. I am great, I am super excellent at geopolitical analysis and theorizing and analysis, such as I am in independent psychological analysis and of course philosophical analysis, as I am great. First, before I'm going to pour this cup of milk, I am going to be saying that I am grateful, thankful, brothers and sisters, that my rent is paid in full for July. My electricity bill is paid in full for July, and my half of my phone bill, just half of my phone bill is paid in full for the month of July. So to that trinity of bills, fourth dimension, have some salad, which I'm gonna eat later. Watching a movie with my sister, anonymous sister, and right in this underground room of something. We're gonna put some milk. I'm grateful, thankful. I'm gonna be saying with gratitude for that I got food, milk, and coffee. This special powder from Sri Lanka. It was a nice golden one. I remember acquiring it from a market in Hawk Island, Montreal. So we traveled the ocean, traveled thousands of kilometers and thousands of miles for me to have it in my underground room house and temple. So it says that it's from Malinda Kapugoda in Sri Lanka. It is from Malinda Kapugoda in Sri Lanka. It is from Malinda in Kapugoda in Sri Lanka. So I'm going to say a blessing, and of course as the motto of the dancing goddess army, which I'm calling all willingly living to support and join thereof. The motto of the dancing goddess being that all ALL fruits, vegetables, and legumes are made, created, and designed by the dance. The goddess with her brother the sun. All the fruits, vegetables, and legumes that our brothers and sisters, farmers, harvest for us to make, upgrade, or maintain, hopefully maintain or upgrade civilizations, are made, produced, and created by the dance of the goddess with her brother the sun. Sun now rises and the sun now sets. As it's 6:02 p.m. here. We still have about 2 hours and a half until sunset. But on the West Coast, that way in British Columbia, Vancouver, in California, San Francisco, LA, Los Angeles, Bay Area, and Seattle, Washington, we subtract 3 hours, so it is 3 p.m. So they still have a lot of more sun. And the sun now rises and now sets, and all the fruits, vegetables, and legumes, and grain, all the grain, are made, created by the dance of the goddess with her brother the sun. That's the motto of the dancing goddess on. Yeah, I said goddess, planet Earth, Mother Nature. I'm a universal spiritual teaching student, non-dogmatic. I don't have a formulated dogma. And the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is non-sectarian. The dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is non-sectarian. The dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is non-sectarian. But all fruits, all the fruits, bananas, my favorite, grapes. I'm grateful to have some grapes, but them all special, so I'm grateful, thankful for that. All the fruits, vegetables, and all the legumes, and all the grain, are made, created, and produced by the dance of the goddess with her brother the sun, that are harvested by our brothers and sisters, farmers, who harvested by their hands. So I'm gonna say gratitude, thankful. I'm gonna say love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers, love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers, love you, kiss you, hug you, farmers, love you, kiss you, hug you, truckers, love you, kiss you, hug you, daycare workers, love you, kiss you, hug you, nurses, love you, kiss you, hug you, doctors, love you, kiss you, hug you, bus drivers, love you, kiss you, hug you, all the cooks, love you, kiss you, hug you, all the butchers, love you, kiss you, hug you, all the bakers, love you, kiss you, hug you, pilots, love you, kiss you, hug you, those wearing steel toe boots in warehouses, those loading trucks, thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, those unloading the trucks, thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you, all general workers in now making a sandwich or making a coffee, serving a coffee somewhere across this collective North American civilization, across the North American civilizational collective, making a cup of coffee now for a trucker who maybe is coming to Montreal with avocados from Mexico, or fruits from the United States, from Florida, maybe oranges from Florida, or other products either from Mexico or from the deep south or from California, all the way to the west coast. After 6 hours of driving, is making a pit stop and getting that cup of coffee, much needed, with a bagel or whatever, and somebody's making that cup of coffee. So thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you both, those supply chains across this collective North American civilization. Yours truly, independent artist, independent activist, independent athlete, universal spiritual teaching student, because no have it all, but pronounce my philosophies as in the simplicity that the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. And please, brothers and sisters, please increasing hygiene in public. I tested positive for COVID 2 weeks today, Saturday. Today's Saturday. 2 weeks ago, tested positive for COVID. Was sick. First few days, it was milder than the first time that I had it. I am triple vaccinated, but of course, I've been isolating for 11 days. I self-quarantined for 11 days. I was in self-quarantine and isolation. And I've been going on Thursday for a good march, meditative march in steel toe boots in Hawk Island for world peace. See me wearing often red. Red, the god, the dragon army's color is officially red, and the dancing goddess army is officially colored green. And for the Phoenix People's Party, the rainbow. And I've noticed a lot of my fellow citizens, brothers and sisters, wash the hands when you go in and out of a grocery store, please. Of a bank, rub, disinfect, wash. I can do better. I'm not perfect. I do not play the self-righteous card. Self-righteous, hey. I got issues. I got vices. I got lusts. I get moody. I'm in a financial crisis. I'm broke, but my work is gold. I could use right now a good massage therapy session. I admit it, but cannot afford it anyways, as millions are across this collective North American civilization. The collective North American civilization is struggling economically, financially, commercially. I am of course open for business, philosophic business, physical business, working out, training, exercising, which has been, is, and will be medicine and therapy for yours truly. And I am advocating, calling for the mass financing of my brothers and sisters to work out, train, exercise. Because go to work out, train, exercise to channel the aggression. Working out, training, exercising has been, is, and will be medicine and therapy for me. I always feel better when I work out, train, exercise. Push-ups, hog squats, push-ups, hog squats, push-ups, hog squats. I'm proud to have created a general integrated total body training system, which I'm calling my brothers and sisters, of course, multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires, and of course the patriarchal sports leagues, first and foremost the CEOs, and then the multi-millionaire athletes to mass finance my brothers and sisters to work out, train, exercise. You got 7 houses, 7 cars. You don't need an eighth. Finance, food security, finance, will work out, train, exercise. Dragon army, complementary in a covenant cooperative way with the dancing goddess army that I'm calling for the creation thereof to be integrated with all existing public and private institutions for this 21st century. The Phoenix People's Party and the Global Dragon Union and International Workers Union for the 21st century. As I am a universal revolutionary centrist, my social political philosophy is universal revolutionary centrism. But I am, of course, a Quebecer. Je suis un Québécois. I am a Quebecer. North American, Montreal, Canada, North America, many past lives, many incarnations. Were born in past lives twice in the USA, so I'm speaking to my American brothers and sisters as well. I'm calling for the security, prosperity, and insurance of freedom first and foremost across, of course, the North American collective civilization of North America, the collective North American civilization. You're still gonna put a glass of milk. And again, thank you, love you, hug you, kiss you, farmers. Thank you, love you, kiss you, the ones who use local milk. For this milk to come to my table. Thank you, love you, kiss you, hug you for those involved in the production and distribution of this holy, sacred, and divine milk. The name of was the forgotten goddess made of cows and without cruelty and the best lifespan that they can have in the best secure and cruelty-free environment. As I'm pouring this milk, I'm grateful, thankful for this milk, that I was able to afford it. Even though on a budget, tight budget, I am grateful. So I tasted before like this. World peace. And since this Ayurvedic, which I'm not gonna give the name of the company, I'm just gonna say that it's produced in Sri Lanka, and of course, as many others ourselves, of course, I have to say on a personal level, which affects millions of Canadians, since the Bank of Canada raised interest rates. The highest point by 1 full percentage point was called 100 basis points. I saw that I'm gonna pay on my debt the highest interest that I ever paid due to that increase, which was the highest in more than 22 years, as the central banks are trying to deal with inflation. I believe at this point in time, my theories put into practice, of which the debt refusion theory, DRT, the debt refusion theory, DRT, debt refusion theory, best at this point in time to implement for the creation of the UV. So I'm pouring this Ayurvedic and doing this meditation product is natural, 100% natural product. I'm going to be pouring it in the milk. It says it could go with milk, coffee, tea, even water. So I'm going to be, it has a nice yellow color. It's like a, smell that I can smell some of the spices. I'm going to keep it to check the research. On a learning journey, see how so many ingredients, 7 ingredients, I'm assuming spices, which perhaps are on the market, but perhaps myself as a North American have never used or have perhaps tasted in dishes and not being aware. But the ingredients, black pepper, of course, ginger, coriander, do know what it is, but Veneval, Siriteku, spelled Siritekku, don't know what it is. Vishnukaranti, Vishnukranthy, I don't know what that is. Vasaka, Vasaka, don't know what Vasaka is. Galangal, Galangal, don't know what Galangal is. Katuwelbatu, Katatuwelbatu. I have no idea what Galbatu is, what that ingredient is. I'm assuming a spice. And of course, Padagam, Pathpadagam. So there's 7 ingredients besides the black pepper, the ginger, and the coriander in this Ayurvedic care, which is the first time that I'm having it, that I have no idea what those ingredients are. So later today, perhaps after the movie or tomorrow, I'm gonna hold the package and I'm gonna check the ingredients. Those 7, I assume, spices or ingredients, Ayurvedic ingredients, which are of course part of natural remedies. I'm gonna have this and myself need healing, as I'm on a healing journey in composition with action, of course, which I've taken. Of course, I've come, was depressed, was suicidal, was depressed and suicidal, dealt with chronic illness, and I am living proof of neuroplasticity by action coupled with acquired Sabbath syndrome. I am living proof of neuroplasticity by action coupled in parallel with acquired Sabbath syndrome. I am living proof of neuroplasticity by action acquired coupled in parallel with acquired Sabbath syndrome. And as I'm hoping for a healing local, national, international, as I'm drinking this Ayurvedic care, which is natural, traditional care in Sri Lanka and the Indian subcontinent, and to my Indian brothers and sisters, to my brothers and sisters in Sri Lanka, from Hawk Island, Montreal, Quebec, yours truly, global Rainbow Dragon, global Rainbow Dragon, global Rainbow Dragon, calling for all to channel the aggressions, and we can do better in economics, finance, commerce. My brothers and sisters who are well off, millions of dollars, who have, please, please, please finance, mass finance, food security and housing and transport, and increasing public hygiene. And so I'm calling all to, of course, implement my trinity of theories, local, national, international. Of course, first and foremost, I am, of course, a North American, although a universal spiritual teaching student, born in many past lives, many incarnations from ancient Egypt. Was born by the Nile, in Euphrates, in ancient Sumerian Babylon, was born by the Euphrates. In ancient India, I was born by the Ganges, many a lifetimes, in many incarnations, in past lives, and by the Danube, many past lives and incarnations in ancient Rome, and even here in North America, Central America, and Latin America, by the close to the Mississippi River, close to the Rio Grande as well. Before Christopher Columbus, a few lives, a few incarnations before Christopher Columbus set foot on this continent. And right here, this 23rd of July, yours truly, universal spiritual teaching student, geopolitical analyst and theorist, an independent artist, independent activist, independent athlete, philosopher, world's greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poet, and androgynous pansexual founder of the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, lifting a cup of this milk with the Ayurvedic care, natural care from Sri Lanka, imported across the oceans for me to drink it. It comes from a place called Malinda Kapugoda, MALINDA in Sri Lanka. And it's the price there, of course, I don't remember how much I paid for it. I had it from a year or a few months, or in Canadian dollars. And RS, I'm assuming, seeing the currency, we're going to do a meditation, RS 25. So Sri Lankan currency, RS price 25, the currency of Sri Lanka for this 4 grams back of Ayurvedic. I don't know how much that translates into Canadian dollars, but we can, of course, do a quick verification and a quick knowledge, since we are blessed with the internet. Is a blessing, of course, and in a parallel life, yours truly, Adrian Hanna Dragan, in that parallel life, science, innovation, and technology, supercomputers, satellites, ICBM rockets, and microchips and software, micro gadgets is my chosen path in this life. It is philosophy, art, poetry, geopolitical analysis, theory, creative writing, children's books, and some finance, and some theories of the social, political, philosophical, and psychological, and sexual and spiritual nature in this life. So we're gonna just go check Sri Lanka. Pardon? So this was 25. One Sri Lankan rupees equals 0.0035 Canadian dollars. So let's see the reverse. A Canadian dollar, Sri Lankan rupees. Canadian dollar and Sri Lankan rupees. So one Canadian dollar. Thanks. Yeah, at 7, eh? I will set it up before, yes. 10 minutes or 5 minutes before. So one Canadian dollar is the equivalent of 274.81 Sri Lankan rupees. One Canadian dollar is the equivalent of 274.81 Sri Lankan rupee. See, I'm learning also as well as I'm doing this meditation. So one Canadian dollar is worth 274.81 Sri Lankan rupees. Mmm, wow, very good taste. Thank you, my brothers and sisters, workers in Sri Lanka who harvested the black pepper, the coriander, the ginger, and those other 7 ingredients, which I'm gonna have to educate myself on what those ingredients are, because it came out a very tasty blend, and it is meant Ayurvedic care. Ayurvedic is, of course, the term for the natural remedies, used in Sri Lanka. For the natural remedies used in Sri Lanka, and it gave it a spicy, very interesting taste. So my brothers and sisters in Sri Lanka imported this, and of course you can analyze that, my brothers and sisters who harvested all those, the farmers, and the knowledge of the care from passed on to the from these natural remedies and these products, the black pepper, the coriander, the ginger, and all the ingredients, even the ones, the 7 that are mysterious to me as of yet, because I'm gonna learn, are of course made, produced, created, originally made, as all grains, all vegetables, and all fruits are made, created, and produced by the dance of the goddess with her brother the sun, who now sunrise and now set. So one Canadian dollar is the equivalent of 274 Sri Lankan rupees. So if this was small 4-gram bag, was 25 Sri Lankan rupees, so a few cents. But if we can divide it, if 1 equals 207, this was 25, about, let's round it up to 250. If 250, or 275, let's round it up. So that means that if this was 25, it's more or less between 8 and 11 cents Canadian for the bag. 8 and 11 cents Canadian for the bag. 8 or 11 cents Canadian for the bag. So I would be a multi-millionaire or a multi-billionaire. What I would do is I would hold a world peace event, and I would sponsor, let's say, I would purchase some of these products. A million bags. How many Canadians are there? 38 million. So let's say if Mr. Thompson, multi-billionaire, who's hockey players, who's made a 7 million, who's Westmount. It's a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaires of Canadians. If this is the equivalent of between 8 cents Canadian and 11 cents Canadian, you can get 1 for 1 Canadian. It will be cost what about to get one for each Canadian? It would be the cost to get one of these for each Canadian would be about, so it's 38 million Canadians, they say, but it says maybe not to give one to children, maybe not for children, let's say, whatever, but let's say for each and every Canadian, 38 million is rounded up because we're close to 38, we're close to 38, close to 38. So can get 38 million little bags like this and distribute it by the organizations and Canadian Army, Dragan Army. I'll drop one for the Canada Post, and drop one to each Canadian with a package note or whatever. Now maybe a good deal for Canadians and a good deal for Sri Lanka. Hey, multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires, the cost for you to get one of these bags to each Canadian would be, so if this is about 8 cents the pack, 8 cents to about 11 cents for the pack, that means that it would be the cost. Let's calculate. So for each Canadian it will be about, well, cost about 3 million, 3.5 million, maybe 4 million. So if you are a billionaire, and a billion is 1,000 million, and a billion is 1,000 billion, a billion is 1,000 million, that is not even 1%. So considering that myself, I consider 10% to be charity, and I'm advocating for a 10% maximum interest on all loans by the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. My advocacy is for, of course, putting into practice my trinity of theory known as the debt refusion theory, which basically means taking all private and public debt, my private debt, and if private debt represents and is represented by the X, and if I'm X1, you're X2, and there's hundreds of thousands, millions, hundreds of millions of individual citizens across Canada, US, Mexico, and Germany, Israel, across NATO member countries in Sri Lanka, which have debt to different banks, financial institutions, and organizations. So if X represents 1 and we take all the existing private debt of private citizens such as myself would be 10,000, and with the public debt of Canada, of US, of Mexico, Germany, Israel, and Sri Lanka and others, join and advocate NATO member countries and beyond, Pan-American, one border, two oceans, one border, two oceans. Here yours to the philosopher, North American, citizen of North America, and independent geopolitical analyst and theorist, as I am calling for world peace. So on the rupee, of course, that is the exchange rate. 1 Canadian dollar is 274 Sri Lankan rupees, and that is the calculation, mathematic approximation. It's an estimation. We can get even more precise if we will. Perhaps the cost is a bit lower, not by much, only by a few cents off, maybe, because I rounded up to 1 Canadian dollar, rounded 274.81, so let's round it up to 275 Sri Lankan rupees. And if this costs 25, we can of course round it up to even more. What is the theory, geopolitical theory of North America? Before I go on to that, I'm gonna go into the theory, debt refusion theory. So debt refusion theory is taking all debt, private and public debt. If my private debt is X1, and if I'm X1 and you are X2, and there's hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions from North America and beyond, from the collective North American civilization, from North American collective civilization and beyond, there's millions. So taking all the private and the public debt, refusing it, pegging it to the US dollars, or in US dollars converted from the currencies, because I have my debt is in Canadian dollars. My Sri Lankan brothers and sisters, their debt is in Sri Lankan rupees, and since the United States dollar is still the international, global, worldwide currency of choice, still the number one currency, although in recent years the euro from the European Central Bank and the yuan from China has been increasing in parallel with the yuan and the other currencies, and of course other currencies of the world, which Colombian peso, Mexican peso, and the UK pound, the Australian dollar, and so on and so forth. The shilling and the shekel of of Israel, and so on and so forth. And so the currencies, all the debt, public and private, from whoever will join North American global rainbow citizen, taking all the private and the public debt, refusing it, meaning converting all the currencies and the debt, the Canadian dollars, the US dollars, the Mexican pesos, the euros, the shekels, and that number, pegging it to the United States dollar, creating the new financial structure institution to issue a new global currency, can be in parallel with others as what I call the UE, the Universal Exchange Unit, and create establish the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, the International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, aka the Dragan Army, and complementary for service and security, integrated with all institutions and organizations, local and international, in parallel in cooperative, covenant, and complementary manner with the International Integrated Dance League, the Dancing Goddess Army, in order to dance for the environment, for Mother Nature, and to be for purpose and pleasure, as I'm calling for to come together, East, West, North, South, for a post-COVID world where post-COVID philosophic, social, even spiritual, even psychological, financial, economic, commercial, political, post-COVID world, by implementing my trinity of theories, the citizen integration theory, debt refusion theory, and democratic fusion theory, that trinity of theories with the fourth dimension, very necessary, love is action, love is action, love is action, calling all willingly living. So now what is the collective North American civilization? The collective North American civilization is on the Sabbath, world peace. The collective North American civilization is, of course, my theory as a geopolitical analyst and theorist, that North America constitutes an emerging geopolitical entity, a collective civilization. And the collective here, the word has to be dissociated and is not to be confused with the word collectivism. Because as a universal revolutionary centrism, my theories, I believe, of course, in public-private partnerships, public-private partnerships, and of course, I do believe in, of course, a universal, however, global, international, universal revolutionary centrism, meaning the incorporations of my trinity of theories to attain world peace, international justice, and security, and ensure global freedom, and that trinity of peace, justice, and freedom to, of course, attain harmony with nature by the two complementary and covenant and cooperative institutions, the Dancing Goddess Army, officially International Integrated Dance League, with the Dragon Army, officially International Integrated International Citizen Integrated Social Security and Service Force, to be complementary in a cooperative and covenant way. So the collective North American civilization is my theory, and I do believe it, that North America constitutes a collective civilization, meaning the word here meaning that it's a collective, an amalgamation, a fusion and integration of several cultures, ethnicities, races, and even civilizations, which have converged, mainly born, spawned, and originated from Western civilization, not totally divorced or separate from Western civilization, but with distinct features and characteristics of a technological, social, cultural, political, financial, and demographic and geographic nature. The geographic aspect, the originality is that North America, Canada, US, Mexico, my brothers and sisters, mi freres are, mi hermanos y hermanas, tenemos, we have, or no, we have two oceans. We have two oceans, two oceans. That way, that way, that way. To the east is the Atlantic. That way, that way, that way. To the west is the Pacific. The Pacific is to the west. The Atlantic is to the east. So that comes with unique geographical realities of the collective North American civilization, or the North American collective civilization. That reality is only for North America, Central America, and South America, for so-called New World, from certain perspectives, right? Two oceans. To my right side is the east, the Atlantic Ocean. To my left side, that way, is the west, is the Atlantic. The Pacific, correction, correction, correction. The Pacific is to my left, which is the west is to my left, and the east is to my right, and to my right is the Atlantic, and to my left is the Pacific, and to my right, which is the east, is the Atlantic, and to my left is the Pacific. So that constitutes the originality of North America. It constitutes this expanse, this geographical reality which is unique, and that is born out of Western civilization as a response, as a reactionary response, as a reactionary response to the fact that nations in Western civilization were warring with each other, with in conflicts, the Second World War. So collective North American civilization is born in the Second World War. In the Second World War. Second World War, the collective North American civilization is born as a response, reactionary response to the fact that nations of Western civilizations, empires, nations, states, were warring with each other. Of course, Nazi Germany, the unique German war machine, and some say Nazi Empire, war, of course, was unique in that it was conflict. The Germans fought the French, the Germans fought the Poles, the Polish, the Germans kind of fought a war with everybody, some say. Of course, conflict in Europe, in Western civilization, nations of Western civilization, right? So North America did not, and the United States practiced a isolationist policy, meaning isolationism as a policy, political policy, is that a state, a country looks more as the domestic internal affairs, the cultural, economic, financial, commercial affairs of the state internally, as it is in the geographical expanse of the nation and the states, such as the United States of America, USA, was not in the war, the Second World War, until it was drawn by the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, I believe, pretty sure, double check, check facts. It was on December 7, 1941. And so that was, of course, an attack, a surprise attack, which of course triggered the response. The involvement of the USA, which had practiced due to several factors, namely the Great Recession, or the recession was a recession, it was actually the Great Depression, it was more than a recession, but the terminologies is depression and recession. There's a distinction, correction, correction, correction. There is a distinction within an economic recession and a depression. There's a distinction. Depression is the more severe. So the United States and the world for that matter was in a depression, economic depression, which lasted what, more than 12 years. The economic depression told from 1929 October with Black Tuesday, Black Thursday, Black, meaning the days when the stock market, Wall Street crashed and began the Great Depression of the 30s. So you and the United States practice isolationist policies mainly about the domestic internal affairs in the economic, financial, and commercial sphere. It did not practice expansionistic, or wasn't too concerned about foreign expansion or foreign involvement. It was isolationist policies, basically as a policy, as a political policy, means that isolationism as a policy means that a country, state, looks more and is mostly concerned with the internal domestic affairs within its borders, within the borders as the United States was until the surprise attack. So due to the surprise attack and the fact that in North America, Mexico did not fight in the Second World War, Canada did not fight the United States, or Cuba, and I do include Cuba as a paradox. Cuba's a paradox inclusion in the collective North American civilization is to the fact that, of course, Cuba was and is a paradox that it has maintained its socialist, communist, one-party Marxist Leninist state, throughout its many upheavals. Even last year was many protests and even uprisings. Some call it uprising, protests, however you want to call it, manifestations, protests. It hasn't seen, such as last year, the protests due to COVID and other issues in Cuba since the 90s, in more than 30 years, and still it is still maintaining a socialist communist state. So the one-party Marxist Leninist state has not been overthrown in Cuba. It's the one-party state. Paradox of Cuba's inclusion, but I do include not just Cuba, but Haiti, Dominican Republic, and of course the islands and Jamaica, due to the Commonwealth, realities of the Commonwealth, which add to the dimension that North America is a collective civilization and not necessarily a civilization in its own, distinct, but yet not fully divorced or separate from Western civilization, but paradoxically born, spawned out of Western civilization. Second World War. In the Second World War, it arose with financial, trade agreements, political, cultural elements coalescing into the collective North American civilization, and trade agreements, of which one in, I believe, 1988 was the first NAFTA. NAFTA stands for North American Free Trade Agreement. Now you can criticize XYZ, but overall, generally there are of course good points in coalescing and this integration, of which I am of course my citizen integration theory, debt fusion theory, democratic fusion theory are based on universal revolutionary centrism, are very pro North American, as I am a North American myself, as not only in past lives but even here from Hawk Island, Montreal, as I am a world LGBTQ citizen, rainbow Dragan, but I am from Hawk Island, Montreal, and I am a North American, and I am a geopolitical analyst and theorist, a North American geopolitical analyst and theorist, as much as I am a world global citizen, which I am, rainbow global citizen, but North America. So this theory, which I do believe is in existence, has called the collective North American civilization, is to these multiplicity of factors, and of course another factors coupled with the political reality of the Second World War, and of course coupled with infrastructural developments in infrastructure, the rail, trains that can go from Canada to US to Mexico, linking Canada, US, and Mexico, and the highways built after. So we can take the car, the truck, or a van, and from Hawk Island, Montreal, we can drive the big highways, which will build with brains and muscle, to Canada, United States of America. And we can drive all the way to Mexico City, all the way to Mexico with the car. There's infrastructure, the building of roads, the highways connecting North America, Canada, US, and Mexico, and the transportation and the trade thereof. And another element is the security context of NORAD. NORAD stands for North American Aerospace Defense, of which I have my propositions for the reform, and of course with the ideas as yours truly, Dragan Zero's ideas for coast to coast satellite interconnected citizen civilian defense of the collective North American civilization, or the civilization of the North American collective, of the collective North American civilization, for the integration of the Dragon Army, the public-private partnerships on coast to coast securitizations against possible ICBMs. There's ICBM rockets potentially, which hypersonic weaponry and ICBM rockets, which in theory can reach from not just North Korea, but other places as well, all continental Canada, provincial Canada, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, all the way to Hawk Island, Montreal. In theory, it's less in practice. So something similar to the satellite of the 80s development, NORAD, and something similar to Israel's Iron Dome, coast to coast and central coast to coast. I'm not gonna go into that because it's for another time and a full cup of coffee and more lengthy discussions about more technical details, which I don't know at all. I theorist, anyways. Continuing with the collective North American civilization, and infrastructure plays a major role in building the collective North American civilization, the cultural aspect as well, trade agreements, fortified, and of course railway developments fortified, the free trade of goods and people and migration fortified and coalesced. Of course, the inclusion of Cuba is a paradox, and inclusion of the islands, and of course the cultural context, Hollywood, and cultural uniqueness of Hollywood movies, that it shows Canadians and Mexicans and Americans and together in different settings. It also has a North American. The word, of course, I'm a North American. People started using over the decade more and more. North American. I am a North American. Je suis un Nord-Américain. Yo soy Norteamericano. More and more and more and more over the decades. The trade agreements, which have been ratified, and XYZ, of course, and the fact that also has been born as a spawn, as a reactionary sort of to the fact that Western civilization was at war with each other. The nations in Western civilization were warring each other. This is another factor, another pillar aspect that is important in the birth, the beginning of the collective North American civilization, which is emerging as I'm speaking. I'm gonna thank you, love you, kiss you, the farmers, the truckers, the butchers, the bakers, all the general workers of the collective North American civilization, of the collective North American civilization, or the collective North American civilization, because trucks are going now. Thank you, love you, kiss you, truckers from Mexico, Canada, US, with goods, clothes, or durable goods, or consumer goods, grains, bananas, avocados, grapes, all goods, dairy, and all other goods. So, and a collective North American civilization is a collective that it has common denominators. But the word collective has to be inserted because it's not North American civilization, but it's the collective North American civilization, meaning that there's a lot of common denominators, but there's of course distinctions and the coalescence of several civilizations to form, and mainly Western civilization. And the fact, another important fact, is that in the collective North American civilization, there are not that many languages. Right, myself, I speak the three main languages of North America. French, spoken here in Quebec by millions, des millions de Québécois, millions of Quebecers. Spanish, I speak Spanish. I love Spanish. I speak English, of course. Mainly English, French, and Spanish. French spoken by, of course, millions of people in Quebec. Spanish by more than 100 million in North America, and English spoken by more than 400 million, right? We also have Creole and the influences of the different Spanish, of course, that are Spanishes of different tones, or just like English. English from Hakka and Montreal is, of course, from the north to the south to the central. There's those distinction between English. So this has coalesced the North American civilization. All these, the infrastructure development, the trade agreements, the culture, the railway connections, the trade, the military security ideals, and the North American collective civilization is emergent. Now on the other aspect, which I'm going to close in about 5 minutes, is the love forces unleashed by my fellow LGBTQ community. And I'm going to say it, and I do say it again, that my own coming out and sexual liberation has not come for me personally without blood, sweat, and tears. And for you, for Canadians, for United States, for the collective citizens of the collective North American civilization, for the free world, for the world that matters, my fellow LGBTQ community are global. We are a global rainbow nation across nations in many ways. But they're spiritual forces of love, just like it's represented by the flag. Right? It's a flag's multicolor. You see the flags of different nations, different states, has two colors, three colors. Very rare that it's a flag that has more than three colors, from my knowledge. Right? It's usually two, three colors. Canadian flag has two colors. Quebec flag has two colors. Mexican flag indeed does have a lot of color, which I do like a lot of color. I love the Mexican flag. The eagle with the snake, and it has a lot of color. But generally, Germany has what? Three colors, right? Red, black, and yellow, right? So most countries have two or three colors in the flag. And the rainbow flag, different colors, which are different colors, they coalesce together in one flag. So all those energies of love have been and are unleashed in many ways, and being refined and presented into the world. And it's the urge to love, right? To love, and love is action, right? In whatever many ways. And you can see it in the Pride Parade, how colorful we can be and we can dance. And myself having participating, waving the rainbow flag, being dressed in rainbow, and of course part of the LGBTQ community, being myself androgynous pansexual, being androgynous pansexual, being an androgynous pansexual. Of course, you can see it in the parade, which can be seen as a celebration of the rainbow nation across nations, because Pride Parade occurs everywhere. It's also very spiritual forces that to others who are not LGBTQ or are struggling out of the closet, it can seem that it's just physical, that there's no spirituality there, but in fact there is, because there's high forces of love that are being unleashed, right? Homosexual love, and lesbian love, and bisexual love, and trans love, and the love that's the energies are can be intense, right? See wild dancing, and of course the clothing, the attire, which we dress up, we dress, right it up, pride, and the dancing and this. So let's say that for me, the Pride Parade represents a kind of like the celebration of the rainbow nation across nations, but it's also spirituality. As much as it can seem very physical and very raw, sometimes it's very physical and devoid from spirituality. Actually, it's spiritual forces that are intense and colorful that can sometimes clash with other forces which are just gray or just white or just black or just of one color, right? Because you have the seven colors of the rainbow. It's a contrast. It's different colors blended, however, together, just like in the rainbow. Right? There's a common denominator or sort of a unity within that diversity. That's also a spiritual part of it. And these forces, which have over the decades and recently even more and more with the liberation. It's 6:50. It's 6:50 now. At 7, the movie has to be on. Not preparing at 7, not going to the bathroom at 7, not putting away your books at 7. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Thanks. I'm on it. Hey, you gotta rock and roll. To be continued. To be continued. To be continued. Main messages make love tonight. Main messages make love tonight. Main messages